everyone. I am Princess Cindy Claire Emergia, and today we're continuing our journey through vector spaces. So far, we've talked about vectors in RNN and what makes a vector space a vector space. Today, we go one level deeper. We're going to look at subspaces, and then spanning sets, and then linear independence. By the end of this session, you'll have everything you need to understand what basis is, which is where we're headed next lesson. This is the full arc of our vector space unit. 8 topics in total. We've already covered vectors in RNN and general vector spaces. So today we're on the topics 3 and 4, which is highlighted there. Notice that where we're headed topic is topic 5 is bases and dimensions. So everything we do today is building the two ingredients you need to define a basis. So pay close attention because today's material gets reused almost immediately. Here, here's what you should walk out of this room being able to do. First is identify. Determine whether a subset of a vector space is a subspace using the three-part subspace test. Second is construct. Form the span of a set of vectors and determine whether a set spans a given vector space. Third is test. Test a set of vectors for linear independence using system of equation or determinants. Fourth is connect. Explain how spanning and independence together set up the definition of a basis or the topic 5. Alright, topic 3, which is subspace. Here's the intuition before the formal definition. Imagine a big vector space V. That's the outer box. Now imagine a smaller piece of it, which is the W. Sitting inside, if W happens to be complete vector space in its own right, using the exact same addition and scalar multiplication rules as V, we call W as a subspace of V. Look at the example here. A plane through the origin sitting inside R3, the solution set of homogeneous system AX equals to 0. Sitting inside R and so the polynomials of degree 2 or less sitting inside the space of all polynomials in every case. Notice that the phrase through the origin or homogeneous, that's not an accident. The zero vector is going to matter a lot in the next slide. Technically, to prove W is a vector space, you need to check all the 10 vector space axioms. But here's the good news. If W is using the same operation as V, most of those actions come along for free. What you actually need to check is just 3 things. One is the zero vector of V is in W. Second is W is closed under addition and any two vectors from W, and the result better still be in W. Third is W is closed under scalar multiplication. Take any vector in W, multiply it by scalar, and then the result better still be in W. If any one of these 3 fails, W is not a subspace, and here's a practical tip. Checking condition 1, the zero vector is usually the fastest way to rule something out. Let's ground this with an example. You'll see over and over that the trivial spaces or the trivial space, subspace, just the zero vector by itself. It always works. The whole space V is always a subspace of itself. Any line to the origin, any plane to the origin is a subspace. The null space of a matrix A, meaning all solutions to AX, is equals to 0, is a subspace of Rn, and polynomials of degree at most n form a subspace of the space of it all polynomial. Let's actually run the test on a real example. W is the set of all x, y, z in R, 3 satisfying x plus 2, y minus z equals 0. First is the 0 vector in W. Plug in 0, 0. It works. Plug in 0, 0, 0, so it works. Second, closure under addition. Take two arbitrary vectors from W that both satisfy the equation. Add them component-wise, and some still satisfied it. Third is the scalar multiplication, same idea, and what left is still 0. So all three pass, so W is a subspace, and geometrically, this is exactly the plane through origin. Now let's see the test catch a fake. W equals the set of x, y with x greater than or equal to 0. The right half of the plane, it looks reasonable. It even contains the 0 vector. But take 1, 0 which is W, multiply by negative 1, you get negative 1. 0 and that's not in W. So it fills condition 3. Passing 1 or 2 condition is not enough. You have to check all 3 every time. Now, what happens when you combine subspace? The intersection of two subspace is always a subspace. The union is generally not. Think of the x-axis and the y-axis in R2. Second, each is a subspace, but there's some 1, 1 isn't on either axis. But the same of the two subspace, every possible combination is always a subspace, and it's the smallest one containing both. Let's shift gears to the topic 4, which is spanning set and linear independence. Here's the guiding question for the next. How few vectors does it take to describe an entire space? So a linear combination of vectors v1 through vk is just any expression built by multiplying each vector by a scalar and adding them together. The span of a set S is the collection of all possible linear combinations you can make you can make from it. If that span turns out to equal the entire space V, we say S spans V. Let's let's test this with an example. Does the set of 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0 and 1, 1, 0 span R3? Take a general linear combination and multiply it out. The third coordinate always comes out to exactly 0, no matter what you chose. So, this set can never reach a point like 0, 0, 1. It does not span R3. It only spans the x and y plane, which is itself subspace. That's not a coincide. The span of any set is always subspace of V. That's the bridging between today's two topics. Here's the second big idea. A set of vectors is linearly independent if the only way to combine them and get the zero vector is trivial way. Every coefficient equal to 0. If there's any another combination that also gives 0, the set is linearly independent. Linearly de- dependent. To test this, set up the equation, arrange the vectors as column of matrix, and solve. If 0 is the only solution, independent. If there's a If there's free variable, it is dependent. A few shortcuts. If you have exactly as many vectors as the dimension of the space, take the determinant. Non-zero means independent. Zero means dependent. If you have more vectors than the dimension of space, stop. It's automatically dependent. And if the zero vector is anywhere in your set, it's automatically dependent too. Let's test three vectors. 4 independent in R3. Three vectors, three dimensions. So we take the determinant. Expanding along the first row gives us the final value of 0. A determinant of 0 means there are non-trivial solutions. So this set is linearly dependent. Geometrically, that means that these three vectors all lie in one common plane through the origin. Even though none of them is a multiple of another, together together they are flat. Let's make this visual. So in R2, in R2, two vectors are independent exactly when neither is a scalar multiple of the other, meaning they don't lie along the same line through the origin. In R3, three vectors are independent exactly when they don't all lie in one common plane through the origin. Dependence, geometric, geometrically, always means redundancy. At least one vector adds no new direction. It's already reachable from the other. Let's tie today together. Spanning means you have enough vectors to reach every point in the space. Linear independence means you have no more vectors than necessary, no redundancy. When a set does both at once, spans the space and is linearly independent, we call it a basis. That's the next lesson, and you now have both ingredients in hand. Let's discuss a few questions before we wrap up. So, does the set of 1 and 1 and 2 and 2 span R squared? Is it linearly independent? What does that tell you? A set of 5 vectors sits in R raised to the power 4. Can it be linearly independent? Why or why not? Show that the set of 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1 both span in R cube and is linearly independent. If S spans V but is linearly dependent, can a smaller subset of S still span V? That's everything for today. To recap, subspace are vector space living inside vector spaces. Test with three simple conditions. Spanning sets tells us if we have enough. Vec- we have enough vectors. Linear independence tells us if we have no more redundancy. Put them together, and the next lesson we build a basis. Any last question before we close? Then you can, if none, you can comment your question in the comment section. That's all for today. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.